Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something many of us probably think is, well, pretty straightforward. Fish and chips.
Mhm.
You look at it, fried fish, fried potatoes, how hard can it be?
Right. Seems simple.
But if you just write it off as simple fast food, especially in Britain, you're kind of missing a huge part of the picture. Our
Mhm.
sources describe it as way more than just food. It's a culture, a passion, and even a symbol of national pride.
Exactly. And that's why we're digging into it, getting that perfect version, the really thin, crisp batter, the flaky fish,
Yeah.
the just right chips. It's surprisingly tricky.
Yeah.
It's not just cooking. It's more like orchestrating things.
Hmm.
Heat, timing, texture, they all have to be spot on.
Okay.
So we'll explore the history, how it became such a British staple, and then get into the chef's secrets, the golden rules for getting it absolutely perfect.
Right, let's start with that history then. Because it's a great story, really. It sort of came about from need, didn't it?
Absolutely. Back in the mid-1800s, Industrial Revolution time,
Yep.
the working class needed food that was, well, cheap, filling, and gave them energy for really long, tough days in the factories and mills.
And fish and chips stepped right into that gap.
It did. But what's really interesting is that it wasn't invented as one thing. It's actually two different food traditions coming together.
Okay, so break that down. What were the two parts?
Well, first you've got the fried fish. That was actually brought to London,
Mm-hmm.
mainly by Spanish and Portuguese Jewish immigrants.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that specific origin.
Yeah, they had techniques for frying fish, often coated, partly as a way to preserve it. So that was already a thing in London.
And the chips, the potatoes.
That really took off more in the north and the
Yeah.
big industrial towns. They're probably inspired by similar things happening in France and Belgium.
Right.
And then somewhere around the 1860s, someone had the brilliant idea to put them together,
And the chippy was born.
pretty much. Those shops started popping up everywhere really fast. It became the meal for ordinary people.
And it got even more significant later on, didn't it? During the wars.
Hugely significant. And this is a key point. Fish and chips was one of the very few foods that was never rationed during World War I or II.
Never. Wow. Why was that?
The government deliberately kept it available. They saw it as vital for keeping up morale, especially for the working classes. It was seen as sort of fuel for the nation.
That really tells you something about its cultural weight. Didn't Churchill call them something?
He did. Winston Churchill apparently called fish and chips good companions.
Good companions. I like that.
It shows how embedded it became. And even today, that image of eating fish and chips by the sea,
Mm-hmm.
it's just quintessentially British, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's an institution.
And that wartime need to keep quality up, even with rationing elsewhere, probably fed into the high standards you still find today, which brings us nicely to the kitchen.
Yeah, let's talk about making it. If you want that amazing taste, it's not just about chucking fish in hot oil. There are rules.
Oh, definite rules.
Mm.
Physics and temperature control are key.
Okay, foundation first. The fish. You can't just use any old white fish, can you? What are the go-to choices in a proper chippy, and why?
Right, the classic choices are usually cod or haddock.
Okay.
Cod tends to be more delicate, milder flavor. Haddock is a bit firmer, maybe slightly more flavorful. People often have a preference.
That's the real rule.
The absolute golden rule, it must be fresh, not frozen, ever.
Never frozen. Why is that so critical? What difference does it make?
It makes all the difference. Frozen fish, even if you thaw it carefully, holds extra water.
Right.
And when that water hits the hot oil, it turns to steam. Steam is the enemy. It stops the batter getting properly crisp, makes it soggy, and can even make the batter pull away from the fish.
Ah, okay. So fresh fish gives you a drier surface to start with.
Exactly. A clean canvas for that perfect batter.
Speaking of the batter, this is where it gets a bit counterintuitive, right? Chefs use ice-cold batter.
Ice-cold batter, yes. And smoking hot oil. That temperature contrast is crucial.
Why? Why so cold? Wouldn't warm ingredients mix better?
You'd think so, but it's all about the gluten in the flour. If your batter, liquid water, milk, whatever is warm, it starts developing the gluten.
And that makes it.
Tough, chewy, almost bready, not what you want.
Right, you want light and crisp.
Exactly. So chefs use ice-cold liquid, often beer or sparkling water. The cold temperature stops the gluten getting tough, and the bubbles, the carbonation, help lighten the batter even more.
So it's like a science experiment to beat the gluten. What should the texture be like?
Really quite thin. The sources say like pouring cream. Very liquid.
Okay, so cold batter, hot oil, massive temperature shock creates that instant crust.
That's the idea. Forms a shell quickly, cooks the outside fast, steams the fish perfectly inside.
But wait, before the fish even goes in the batter, is there another step? I feel like I read something.
Ah, yes. The secret weapon. The hidden glue, as one source called it.
I'm clue.
You lightly dust the fresh, dry fish with plain flour before dipping it in the batter.
Why? What does that do?
Two things. One, it absorbs any tiny bit of moisture still on the fish surface. Okay. And two, it gives that wet batter something dry and slightly rough to grip onto. Ensures it sticks tight, doesn't slide off in the fryer.
Clever. Okay, and here's another weird tip I saw. Let the batter rest after mixing. And don't overmix it. Little lumps are good. That sounds wrong.
It sounds wrong, but it's right for this. Resting for 10-15 minutes lets the flour hydrate properly. And yeah, don't whisk it to death. A few tiny lumps are fine. They actually create little pockets of extra crispiness when they hit the hot oil.
Huh. Okay, learning loads here. It's all about managing starch and moisture, isn't it? Which brings us to the chips.
Absolutely, the other half of the equation. And choosing the right potato is just as critical as choosing the right fish. It's potato chemistry time.
Potato chemistry, I like it. So what kind of potato are we talking?
You need a high-starch, low-moisture potato. A floury potato, as they say in the UK.
Any specific varieties that are famous for chips?
The absolute champions are Maris Piper or King Edward. They're perfect because that high-starch content breaks down when cooked, giving you that lovely, soft, fluffy inside.
And what happens if you use the wrong type, like a waxy salad potato?
Disaster. Waxy potatoes hold their shape, they have less starch, more water. You end up with chips that are firm, maybe a bit greasy, definitely not fluffy inside or super crisp outside.
Right, so floury potatoes are key. And then there's the famous technique, the double frying. Is that essential?
Non-negotiable. If you want proper shop chips, you have to double fry.
Okay, walk us through it. Why twice?
It's about controlling the cooking in two stages. First fry, lower temperature. About 130 to 140 degrees Celsius. That's roughly 265 to 285 Fahrenheit.
And what's that doing?
That first fry cooks the potato all the way through. It softens the starch, makes the inside really fluffy, almost steams it in the oil without browning it much.
Okay, so cook the inside first. Then you take them out.
Yep, take them out, let them drain and cool slightly for a minute or two. Then phase two, crank up the heat.
This is the crisping stage.
Exactly. Second fry is much hotter, around 190 Celsius or 375 Fahrenheit. This hits the surface hard, drives off any remaining moisture, and creates that beautiful golden, crispy exterior really fast, while the inside stays soft.
That's brilliant. So it's real heat discipline.
Totally. And that discipline applies to the fish frying, too. You need that oil held steady. For the fish, it's usually around 180 Celsius or 355 Fahrenheit.
And keeping it steady is the challenge, especially if you're doing batches.
It really is. If the oil temperature drops too much when you add the cold fish,
It gets greasy.
yep, the batter soaks up oil instead of crisping instantly. Heavy, oily fish. Not good.
And too hot.
Too hot, the batter burns before the fish inside is cooked through. You get a dark, maybe bitter crust and raw fish. Go.
Is there an easy way to check the oil temp if you don't have a thermometer? The old chef's trick?
There is the bread cube test. Drop a small cube of white bread into the hot oil. If it turns perfectly golden brown in about 30 seconds, your oil temperature is pretty much spot on for the fish.
Useful tip. Okay, so fish is fried, chips are double fried to perfection, they come out of the fryer. What's next? Timing is key again.
Timing is everything at the finish line. As soon as they come out, drain them for just a second, then immediately hit them with the seasoning.
Salt and vinegar.
Classic combo.
Yeah.
Sea salt, malt vinegar. You do it straight away while the surface is still incredibly hot and porous.
Ah, so it absorbs the flavor instantly.
Exactly. Rather than the seasoning just sitting on a cooling, less receptive surface. Makes a real difference to the taste.
And then the final hurdle. Getting them home without ruining all that hard work. We've all had soggy takeaway fish and chips. Why does that happen?
One word. Steam. Steam is the enemy of crunch. Remember that.
Right. Trapping it is bad.
The absolute worst thing you can do is wrap hot, fried food tightly in foil or put it in a sealed plastic container. The steam coming off the food gets trapped, condenses back into water, and instantly turns that beautiful, crisp batter and those crunchy chips into a sad, soggy mess.
So that's why traditional paper wrapping works.
It's genius. Paper breathes. It lets most of the steam escape while still keeping the food hot for a short while. Functional design.
Which leads to the ultimate philosophy.
Eat it quick. The absolute peak fish and chips experience is within minutes, literally minutes of it coming out of the fryer.
Yeah.
The longer you wait, the more the quality drops.
Speed is king. Love it. Okay, so those are the traditional golden rules. But things evolve, right? Are chefs doing anything new, any modern twists?
They are, yeah, especially in more gourmet settings. For extra lightness in the batter, some chefs are swapping out maybe 25% of the regular flour for something like rice flour or cornstarch.
Which makes sense, based on what you said about gluten. Less gluten, lighter result.
Precisely. And for flavor boosts, you might find a pinch of, say, seaweed powder added to the batter for umami,
Oh, interesting.
or even a tiny dash of fish sauce, believe it or not, just to deepen the savory notes.
And finishing touches.
Beyond salt and vinegar, maybe some finely grated lemon zest sprinkled over at the end, or some chopped fresh parsley. And of course, the sides are getting fancier too. Gourmet tartar sauces, really good mushy peas, creative pickles.
So the tradition is strong, but there's room for play.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But underlying it all, whether it's traditional or modern, is that core principle of mastery. It looks simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
It really comes back to what that London chef said, which sums it up perfectly. You don't cook fish and chips, you manage time and heat.
That's a great quote. It captures everything we've talked about, the precision, the technique behind the seemingly simple facade.
It does. Get the potato right, the fish fresh, the batter ice cold, manage that oil temperature like a hawk.
And you end up with more than just dinner. You get that crispy golden reflection of the British spirit itself, as one source put it.
Beautifully said.
Well, thank you for that deep dive. It's given me a whole new appreciation. So the final thought for you, our listener, thinking about everything we just discussed, especially managing gluten and temperature for Christmas. If you were making something else crispy at home, maybe onion rings, maybe some tempura vegetables, what's the one key technique from today you'd immediately apply to get a better result? That science applies far beyond the chippy.